This is a LabVIEW Beginner lesson, where we make a heart rate monitor. This is lesson 4, where we add modularity and functionality. In lesson 4-1, we'll be adding an application status from the module to the GUI so we can see if they have stopped. Currently, if a module crashes, we will see nothing. We will just maybe see the lack of data, but it will be nice to know why it stopped and which module has stopped. To do this, we'll create a new user event, we'll add a new indicator to the GUI, and we'll make a generic VI function that will input the module and the error and send this to the GUI. This is lesson 4 and not lesson 3, so we can rename this just to lesson launcher instead, because the lesson number is not that important anymore. You can keep it, you can copy it, you can do what you want, but I will do this. We will start by adding the user event. Now, adding user event after user event is quite tedious. If you're looking through these videos and doing things afterwards, I would add all the user events at the same time, as it doesn't give anything to add them after each other. The only reason I'm doing it is I want to add one feature at a time to make it easier to follow. This will be a string. We'll call this status feedback. It's important to name your variable before you create this one, because in here is also the name, so when you use it in a user event, it will pop up. Open this one. Oh, we actually need to go further in. Now we need to close it. Now we have initialized it and closed it. Now we can make the generic VI. If this was a bigger application, I would probably make a common module or a folder structure where everything that's used by the whole application will be placed. But since this is so small, I will currently just place it with the init, as this is close to what is common. I'll copy this one just to get the inputs and the errors, because saving time, but you can be tricked. If you try to save too much time, it's easy to make mistakes. So what do we want this to do? We want it to see if there's an error, and if there's an error, it will send a message on this event. We can start by creating a case structure, connecting this here. We'll pass the error through, as we don't want to mess with it. We just want to get to the code and the source. And then we want to generate user event here. I will also add in another VI, which is clear error. So this will probably not error, but if it does, I don't want a prompt in the application. I just want to clean it away. This also tells the next person or you later that any error from here, I frankly don't care about, because the application is closing it's too late to worry about that. We're worried about this error. So just adding this error wouldn't really help. To format this into a string, we'll use the format into string VI. This is a very nice VI as you can control how the string will look. The format to string VI allows you to format the string as you please. It uses the same formatting rules as in Python or C. I would just write module and then percentage string, and then there will be a string on the input here. Next, I will write code, and then %d, meaning I want a double. And lastly, I would like a string again, so I'll just write source %string %s. LabVIEW is forgiving, so it doesn't really care if it's a double or not, it just adapts. And then lastly, we want the module name. Module name. And move that out here. So now the string we will get, we will know which module it is, which error code it is, and the source, like the info of the string. There's no need to connect an error in here because we know it's an error. So in worst case, it would just stop this from sending. And then we will add the module name as an input, and we'll also make it required. Let's see if this one is also required. It was not. So we have our generic VI. We just put in the init cluster and the module name, and it will automatically send it on the user event. The problem with having only one screen to work with when you're working with LabVIEW is that you can't really drag things out of the project. Usually I would have the project in its own screen. So we add this here. And then let's make some space by holding Control and pushing. Process. And then hardware or acquisition. And we need to put the errors in, error further along. And then lastly, we now need to add some sort of indicator in the GUI. First, we'll add the user event here. And go to the end. Add an event case, status feedback. And here we get it. We could just create an indicator here, but then every time there's a new feedback, it would delete it. And we don't want that. What if both crashes? What if we have more modules? What if we want to add different things to the status feedback? We want to put it inside a place later. So for those reasons, we need to add some sort of remembering mechanism. An easy way to do this is to add format string and the feedback node. The feedback node, you put in any data, and then next iteration of reading this, it will give that out here. So it will always give you the last value you put in. So what we want is to have this formatted with whatever we had last time placed in here, and then the next time we will get what we had in this one plus what we have here. An alternative to this would be to make a local variable here, which is read and then combined with whatever we put here. Start by making a string constant, just saying it in here. The initial value should be nothing. Then the value here is the old value, so we want that at the bottom and we want the new value at the top. So we'll just connect these here. We can delete this. We want to format. So we want this here. And then we want a way to separate it. So we'll just add a few lines so it's clear when the new one starts and the old one stops. And then we want our second string. So this will work by putting the new string here and then the old string there. And this new string we got here, we will put in here, so we will get this again, the last round. And then we put the result in here too. And this will indicate our feedback. We'll make it a bit bigger so we can see. Let's test this now and see if it works. Let's just set up an error here. Set 1, 2, 3 through A, B, C. And then we'll do something similar, but just add something else here, just to show the difference. Now let's start it and see what happens. We see our errors go in here, and let's see them pop up. First, this one popped up, then this one. If you want to, you can modify it so it also sends in the non-error loop, and then you could add some other type of message. And you know it will go in here, but for now I only want to see the errors. But this is just a starting building block. You can add it and modify it in the way you need. And let's wire this correctly again. If I just suddenly pull out my DACMX, we see we got an error. It tells you what the error was, and we see the stop. And I put it back in again. We haven't got any recover mechanism, so we just have to stop when this happens. That's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll add the ability to pause the acquisition.